It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast. On this, the 19th day of January 2026, coming to you from my studio in Forest, Virginia, right outside of Lynchburg. Of course, today's show is brought to you by Will U.S., the owner of Scootaround, and by Chillie's Cruises. We have a special guest this morning, so I'll save on introducing her for a moment or two. Also today, after we chat a bit with our guests, I do have a few news stories, not a great deal of news, and the story names are long. So it sounds like, or looks like there's more than there actually is. But the lead story after our interview this morning is new cruise port could bring mega cruise ships to Tampa Bay for the first time. Also today, freedom of the seas to use MSC terminal in Miami. The Norwegian Prima breaks free from its mooring lines and high winds in Port Canaveral. Symphony of the Seas adjusts itinerary due to speed restrictions, and lots more live here at 11 o'clock this morning. Today, folks, of course, is Martin Luther King Day. It's also National Popcorn Day. I often wondered why they put those two together. That makes no sense at all. But anyway, I mean, that's, I definitely honor Martin Luther King, and I like popcorn. So, I mean, that's a win-win for me. This day in history, in 1937, Howard Hughes sets a new air record by flying from Los Angeles to New York City in 7 hours and 28 minutes. He, of course, then became a complete idiot, but that's neither here nor there. If you're a podcast person, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcast from. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the Fat Travel Guy. Now, before we get started with things this morning, I do have an important announcement to make. This, of course, happened earlier in the week down there in Port Canaveral. And that, my friends, is Artemis 2. Now, the important thing about this is that Chillie's Cruises has learned that Hot Air Tom has stowed away somewhere on the Artemis 2 rocket that will be going to the moon here and shortly. When asked about it, Cindy, his wife, said, "That damn fool." Just saying, that's what Chillie's Cruises has learned. Of course, we knew Hot Air Tom was a damn fool, but we'll see if they find him out before the rocket takes off. Okay, so much for that. All right. So over the weekend, I was talking with, obviously one of my favorite people in the world, and that would be Elizabeth on location, Eli on location. And I got a message from her all in a dither yesterday that said, "Oh my God, the Wi-Fi is out." So we started off the day not knowing if she was going to be here or not be here. So the cable guy showed up. She's in St. Kitts, by the way. The cable guy showed up to fix the Wi-Fi, and I'll let her tell you what she thought. I'm not used to people, especially skinny little people like Eli, throwing my big fat ass around, but she threw me around this morning. Anyway, let's welcome back one of our favorites in the world, Eli on location. Welcome back to the podcast, and tell me what you told the cable guy.
I said, hurry the blank up because I have an important podcast make an appearance on with my best buddy in 45 minutes. And he went, whoa! And he went running off to get a new modem and all this craziness. And anyway, he got it. And I was like, phew, okay. Why is it that, and good morning, everyone. Why is it that every time I make an appearance on your show, there's no Wi-Fi? And if anybody remembers that maybe Tom was there, maybe Katie, the last time that I made an appearance when I was in Aruba, and I was going to do it from up on deck, and it was this beautiful, you could see the ocean behind me, no Wi-Fi. And I just grabbed all my stuff and hauled all the way through town to my favorite little Cuban restaurant where I could get on. I got there like in 5 minutes to spare to get on your show. But right now I'm actually at my apartment, so I could go and breathe easy. And here I am.
So tell us, you're not supposed to be in St. Kitts. You were on Azamara for 16 minutes.
No. My scheduled time on Azamara was only for 11 days. So It was the situation prior to that threw me off my regular scheduling. And that's another story for another day. But for this, I was scheduled on Azamara until the 17th. So I got off the ship. I joined in Miami and I got off the ship in Barbados, which might or might not have been the reason why I brought my props. Look, I got the security orange sticker on my luggage. So I was very fortunate. I have some very dear friends here in St. Kitts who arranged for me to be picked up on the tarmac in the limo, go over to the Cayenne Jet terminal where you sit and have some champagne, something to eat if you like, while somebody else does the running around for your luggage, for your immigration, customs, and all that stuff. So I'm sitting there having a good old time. And after a while, it got to be a while. I think I had not one, not two, but 3 glasses of champagne. The good stuff, by the way. Some Dom Perignon, yeah. And I got to, then they're like, come this way, mister. And I got taken into this private room, and they decided to go through every single piece of everything I own in my luggage. Now, I travel with the same amount of luggage, whether I'm going for 10 days or whether I'm going for 11 months. So it's just everything. I take everything with me, all my stuff. And they painstakingly went through everything, only to find out that, look, I work on a cruise ship. I must have been a red flag because I'd been to different islands and traveling solo, and coming from Barbados, I think I was the only American on the flight, which I don't think they're taken too kindly to Americans anymore. And anyway, they took, not only did they search my luggage, they took everything out and then unzipped the interior lining and looked all in that with the flashlight. And then they took photos of the inside of my luggage and everything. So it was, I just stood there and went, what do you do? And people said to me, like, well, did you ask them why? And I'm like, no, don't ask any questions. You just stand there politely and let it happen.
All right, now I have to ask a question. Could this have been because while you were drinking the good stuff, the champagne and all that crap, you were looking at a bottle of Elijah Craig that's over there on the bar while you're drinking the champagne?
No, I will correct you on that, sir. That is a different airport glass of champagne and Elijah Craig that you're looking at there.
I know, but that's what I could grab in a quick one.
Good one. Put me on the spot there. But anyway.
Okay, so now they strip search you. I mean, they luggage search you at St. Kitts.
Right.
Decide whether to let you back on the island again.
Yeah.
And finally, they decided, okay, she can stay.
Yeah.
Now, do they put you stuff you back in a limo, or do they send you out to hitchhike?
They sent me out the door. My friend was there to pick me up, so better than the limo. So, yeah, the owner of Carambola actually is my good friend, and if you come to St. Kitts, that is a must-see place to go. Carambola is a beautiful beach club, and they have a wonderful restaurant and bar and a gorgeous beach area. So if you're just here for the day, most ships have an excursion that goes to Carambola. But I will have to say it's one of my number one picks here on the island.
All right, now that leads me to a question that I would personally ask you, and maybe not ask you on the air, but what the hell, I'm going to ask you on the air. Does this restaurant you're touting, is it a vegan restaurant, or does it have vegan on the menu, or do you just like it?
All of the above. So no, it's not a vegan restaurant. No. But they do have vegan options. They have vegetarian options. They have gluten-free options, and they have the whole hog.
Okay. So I could go in there and eat all my nasty stuff that I eat all the time, and you could sit back and go, see, I'm healthy and you're not.
Well, I would never do that. But the chef.
I know, but I'd have fun with it.
The chef makes special things for me when I'm there. But usually on the menu, not usually, always on the menu, there's something that I can eat. I don't know if they have Elijah Craig. I'm going to have to check tomorrow when I go over there.
I'm going to guess probably not. Elijah Craig is still not found many places.
I know, but I'll make sure they have it if you do come here.
Okay, well, no, that'd be all right. Even if they buy one bottle. And I'll just drink it while I'm there. What the hell?
They have Elijah Craig on Azamara. I did see it there. But I don't know. I think you might have to pay extra for that, but I don't know.
Okay. All right. So now, we got to go back. You got on Azamara in Miami.
Right.
And you rode around the Southern Caribbean and ended up in Barbados. Now, that would be Azamara Quest. Now, one of the things that really surprised me about the Quest, I would never have guessed it to be as old as it is. Tell us a little bit about the background on the Quest.
Well, this is an old Renaissance ship, and it actually is 26 years old. And I've actually been on 2 other renovated Renaissance ships. Say that 3 times fast. One being the former Pacific Princess, which is now the Azamara Onward. And then I also was on Oceana Serena, which is an old Renaissance ship. So oddly enough, like the main staircase, the grand staircase, it's the same on all of those ships. What was different, the dining rooms had been refurbished, some of the bars and different areas. I must say that the cabins were spectacular, and the layout, even though it was similar, I mean, obviously the build is the same. It's a nice size ship. We had 663 passengers on board when I was there. So for people who don't like the big, 5,000 mega passenger ships, it's a really nice atmosphere. Very personalized attention, and I loved it. It was my first time on Azamara. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that you had, in all your years at sea, which we won't mention that because somebody might guess your age, and we don't want them to do that. But after, and I'm not going to slip the number out there. You're not going to trick me. You've never been on an Azamara ship before, as far as any of your thousands of contracts that you've done.
That's right. So I was really excited to go, and it was Azamaraizing. That's so bad.
Wow,
It was
that's a
really
good
nice.
word.
I absolutely
As
loved
an
it.
amazing experience.
It was really nice. Like I said, now I do judge ships a lot on their food. Now I know some people, when I'm on different Facebook pages for different cruise lines, people are like, "Oh, get over it," blah blah blah. Well, I'm a foodie, and I love good food. Even though I know, but I'm vegan, and so I used to be vegetarian, but when I became vegan, it became more of a challenge. But I still like good food. In fact, I like better food now, and I like spicy food, and I like different food and different flavors. I don't want the plain, boring salad and meat and potato kind of meal that I found on some cruise lines. So I would put Azamara in my top 5 for food. I haven't even thought about it where I rate them, but definitely in the top 5 as far as just general buffet food was awesome. Now keep in mind it's only 600 and some odd passengers, so they're serving a smaller amount. And I will tell you this though, the one interesting thing is they're very set on their meal times. You don't have any 24-hour buffet. Now, room service menu was quite extensive, and you could have that 24/7. However, the overall, like, lunchtime and the buffet was from 12 to 2. At 2:01, you ain't eating anything.
It was done.
Dinner was from 6 or 6:30 until 8:30. 6 to 8 or 6 to, there's a 2-hour period for dinner. If you missed it, you're not eating. Now they did have the outside grill was open, and on some days till 2:30 in the afternoon, and on some days it was open until like 4 p.m. or something like that, which was like burgers. There was a salad bar out there. I never ate out there because I managed to eat during the set times. But a couple times in the evening, I had to order room service, which I'm glad I did because I got to experience some different things. But it was the old-fashioned system of here's lunch, here's breakfast, lunch, and dinner time. Eat within the confines of that. You can't graze all day long like you can on a big ship. But what was every day was something, a different theme for lunch and dinner every day. And that's what I loved because I personally, I love Virgin. Virgin is a wonderful cruise line. The food was, I don't want to use the word awful, so I won't, but it was very boring and bland. And it was exactly the same every single day. I did 3 full contracts on Virgin on 2 different ships. It was exactly the same in every venue, every single solitary day for the almost 2 years that I worked on there. And boy, that gets really boring. And passengers complained about it too, just saying that the food was boring overall. So anyway, back to Azamara, loved it.
Now, one of the things that we found out about Azamara, most of the crew didn't know you were crew. So you were treated more like a guest than a crew member.
Yeah, I was 100% guest status. So I didn't wear a name badge. I didn't wear a uniform. And so nobody knew I was working on board until I told them. But yeah. I have to say, I would say 11 out of 10 is how I was treated on there. Wonderful service by everyone. Exemplary. Top notch. top notch.
And
From
how
the
much do they charge for drinks?
Well, that's another thing. Most drinks are free of charge.
Yeah.
I was happy.
Yeah, I like that.
But they gave you a number of options for free drinks. So I mean, it's free. It's included in the price. So you had, I think, at every bar there were like 3 different red wines, 2 or 3 different white wines, sparkling wine as well, and then your basic regular spirits. Obviously sodas and water and stuff like that were free. Beers, no charge extra for those. There were certain ones, so there was like a list of all the complimentary options, and then there were top shelf items. But I'm telling you, if you're a wine connoisseur, there were really good wines that were available every day. Now, yes, you could buy. I had one day. I had a cider, a strongbow, and that cost me $7. So that's on par with the average price of what that would be somewhere. So
Well, and I'm sure if they had a bar with Elijah Craig would not be free.
right,
I would pay some kind of supplement for Elijah Craig.
yeah, I didn't find it to be anywhere more expensive than. No, I just got off Princess prior to this. So prior to this, I was on Majestic Princess, and I must say on there as well. Oh my goodness, the food was excellent on Majestic, excellent. And again, that's a much larger ship, but there you have options 24/7. It was amazing, but there was too much food to choose from on there. Their alcohol prices were a good bit more expensive than what I experienced on Virgin, interestingly enough. But I was able to go to the crew bar on there.
Yeah.
So, not that we base everything around the price of alcohol, but it's important to know.
Well, when I was on Majestic, that was 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago when I was on Majestic, I had a drinks package. So, I had anything I wanted. So I can't compare them. All right. So Azamara, smaller ship, wonderful crew, wonderful food, obviously good bars. How was and I know you didn't go, but how was the entertainment and so forth on board? Obviously fewer venues than the larger ship, but did you get any feedback as to the quality and quantity of the entertainment?
Good question. I did go to the piano bar in the evening, and the entertainment there, the singers there were awesome. The assistant cruise director did a couple of shows, and everyone raved about him. I could hear him from where I was. I didn't go and actually watch it, but the cruise director was a guy named Roy. Assistant cruise director was a guy named Roy, and he left the day I did. But and a girl took over. But he was amazing. Everybody raved about his show. They did have full production shows, which I did not get to attend because that was during the time that I was working. But I will say overall that what I heard, people enjoyed the shows, but it was a quiet ship. We worked until 11:30 at night, which that's well past my bedtime. However, so after 11:30, there was not much going on. I had to dodge the tumbleweed going through back to my room. But I go for a glass of wine after work, and it was just super quiet. So really not much going on. They did, they do the regular They do bingo. They do karaoke and things like that. But it tends to be a little bit earlier time frame. And I will mention this: a lot of people have asked me, was it like a much older crowd? It wasn't that old. I mean, it was. I mean, we're not going to talk about how old I am, but I'm up there, and it wasn't like super old like some cruise lines I've been on. It was average. There were not any. There were no kids on board. I don't know if kids are allowed on board there or not, but there weren't any, and there weren't even any like. There weren't any 20. Question. I don't know. I didn't even think about that. But I'm
going to find out while you're talking.
Yeah, I would say that the average age, well, there were people, and I would say the average age probably was 50.
And yes, kids are allowed on Azamara.
Okay, but there's just nothing for them to do.
Yeah.
So that's why they're not there. Now, we also talked about pricing, and I know you looked it up, but like now the ship I was on finished its Caribbean season when I got off, and then it's headed down to Brazil right now. So that's a more expensive cruise, but I know Caribbean cruises were under $1,000. So they weren't crazy expensive. The rooms were beautifully appointed and very comfortable. And I mean, I was in a probably the cheapest room that you could get. I had a porthole, but the room was huge. It's way nicer than what I had on Virgin. Way nicer, and nicer than what I had on Princess.
When you were in ports, did you have to use tenders?
We tendered into a few smaller ports. We went to Bequia, which I had never been to before. We went to Saint Pierre in Martinique rather than Fort de France. So we tendered in there. It was a short tender ride. There were 2 other tender ports that we went to. St. John's in U.S. Virgin Islands. We tendered in there. And there was one other one. I can't remember. But the itinerary was quite nice. We had 2 sea days at the beginning, and the rest, it was all port intensive. So we went to everything else was, all the ports. St. Thomas, St. Martin, Antigua, beautiful ports. It was fun. It was good.
Were there many disabled folks on Azamara?
Not too many. There were a few, but not too many. I would say that the cruise ship itself was very accessible getting around. I know you and I talk about this a lot. They're pretty wide open spaces there. And I know that like all the bathrooms had a wheelchair accessible. All the bathrooms were wheelchair accessible that I came across. You didn't have to go to a special wheelchair bathroom like you do on some ships. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that all seemed good. The only place I really came across really bad wheelchair accessibility was when I left Barbados to get on the plane. I told you I could barely get up the tiny little gangway of the plane with my luggage. So I don't know how anybody would have gotten on that flight that I got on, but anyway. But overall, yeah. And I don't know about the accessibility on those tender rides, if they could have gotten you on and off, because to be honest, I didn't go off but once on a tender, and I've been to
the problem on most tenders is you get on the tender on one deck and you get off on a different deck, and you have to be able to go up and down the stairs between the 2 decks.
Right.
Very few have lifts or ramps. I've been on one with a ramp, which got me from deck 2 to deck 1 and back from 1 to 2, but it scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
Because it was like you know, unbelievably sloped with, you know, a 180-degree turn in the middle of the damn ramp. So, yeah, it was a toughie.
Yeah.
All right. So that's, I've eaten up a half hour of time this morning, and I've got to get a little bit of news done.
You do. Let me say one other thing real quick, and then you can talk about it later on another show. Don't forget, I've got an amazing friend. Anybody who is looking for someone in Ocho Rios or Falmouth, we have a great taxi driver, and he's able to take a scooter in his van and give a great tour around Jamaica. So that's subject for another day, but don't forget to talk about that.
I've already talked to amigo John up in Minnesota, and I haven't talked to Kenneth yet, but I'm figuring at least the three of us are going to do something with him when we are in Falmouth.
Yeah.
So
not
sure what it's going to be. And we might just say, hey, take us someplace. You're driving, drive us. We don't care.
And I'm also working on a driver here in St. Kitts for you to promote. His name is Perry Brown. He's amazing. And I know he's got a taxi van. So I know a fold-up wheelchair can go in his van. I'm not sure yet about taking a scooter on, but I will find out about the accessibility here on that. Yeah. So I'll get back to you. Okay.
And Elizabeth still has a tendency to call a power wheelchair a scooter. She still can't get straight which ones are which.
I know what they are. I just call them, I interchange it.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, no, because generally, if it's good for a power chair, it's also good for a scooter. So you're not incorrect. You are correct in that. So,
all right. We'll see that later. All right.
I'm just
I'll let you go.
A hard time. And as always, my dear, thank you so much for being with us. And we'll do this again sometime real soon. How long are you in St. Kitts? You don't know.
I don't know. How long
you're going to be there? Okay. You're just kind of hanging for now.
Yeah. Not a bad place.
Yeah, no, it's a tough place to be. You know, it's awful.
You know.
While we're fighting snow and crap here, you're in St. Kitts. That's so sad. So, cheers. And we were not saying what's in the cup. It's not what's in my cup, however. Where's my cup? My cup is up.
You don't know what's in the cup. It could be water.
You don't know what's in my cup. You don't know what's in her cup.
My last shout out. You go to St. Martin, you got to go to Marley's. Awesome beach club right there on the main area where the water taxis take in. Go down a little farther past the courthouse, Marley's, best beach club.
Okay.
My promo.
All right. Eli, thank you as always. And we will see you next time, whenever that might be.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. See you. All right. And that, of course, is Eli on location, coming to you live from St. Kitts. All right. I'll be back with today's news, folks, after a quick break from one of our fine network sponsors. All right, so let's get started with today's news. Nestor, what's the first story today? I guess it has to do with Tampa, doesn't it?
Cruise ships have sailed from Tampa, Florida for more than 40 years, but the city has long faced a major limitation, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. While visually stunning, the bridge's 190-foot vertical clearance prevents today's largest cruise ships from calling on Tampa. Royal Caribbean's Icon and Oasis-class ships, along with Carnival's Excel-class and Norwegian's Prima-class vessels, are all too tall to pass beneath the bridge. As a result, Tampa remains limited to smaller cruise ships despite growing demand. That could soon change. SSA Marine, a major North American cruise terminal operator, has proposed a new modern cruise port on the 328-acre Knott Cowan Tract in Manatee County. Located seaward of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge on the Gulf side, the site would eliminate height restrictions and allow mega ships to sail directly into the region. The proposed port, developed with Tampa-based Slipknot LLC, would also save ships up to 2 hours of navigation time currently required to traverse Tampa's narrow channels. Developers estimate the project could create more than 31,000 jobs statewide and generate $1.6 billion in labor income. The plan also emphasizes conservation. SSA Marine recently purchased nearby Rattlesnake Key for $18 million to prevent commercial development, intending to preserve the island as a natural buffer near the port. While still in early planning stages, construction could begin after permitting and take 3 to 5 years. If approved, the new port could position West Central Florida as a major hub for next-generation cruise ships and expand cruising options for Tampa area travelers. Celebrating Martin Luther King Day. Savings on mobility equipment site-wide. Martin Luther King Day is all about equality and freedom, two principles that resonate with us deeply at Scootaround. For today only, we're giving you 15% off all products site-wide, including popular mobility scooters, wheelchairs, and power chairs. Use code SRN11137 to get 15% off. Shop online or call 1-844-664-7467 for the MLK Day sale. Guests boarding Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas today will embark from an unexpected location at Port Miami, MSC Cruises Terminal AA, with the former Terminal G demolished and renovations ongoing at Royal Caribbean's Terminal A. The cruise line has temporarily shifted embarkation for this sailing. Booked guests were notified by email that the ship will depart from Terminal AA, MSC's newest and largest cruise terminal. Opened in April 2025, Terminal AA spans nearly 493,000 square feet across 4 levels and can accommodate up to 3 ships at once. Royal Caribbean advised guests to expect longer walks, noting the terminal has the feel of an airport concourse. Clear signage will direct passengers past Terminal A, which will be in use by Wonder of the Seas on the same day. Parking for Terminal AA opens at 11 a.m., and guests are reminded to follow port signage carefully to avoid delays. Despite the terminal change, there are no itinerary or schedule impacts. Freedom of the Seas will sail on its scheduled 5-night Bahamas cruise, calling on Nassau and Perfect Day at Coco Cay. For information on Freedom of the Seas cruises, contact Chillie at 434-258-9264. Norwegian Prima experienced a brief but dramatic incident while docked at Port Canaveral yesterday when powerful wind gusts caused the ship to break free of her mooring lines during embarkation. The incident occurred around 2 p.m. as a cold front moved through central Florida. While winds were calm earlier in the morning at 5 to 7 miles per hour, conditions quickly deteriorated, with sustained winds rising to 15 to 20 miles per hour and sudden gusts reaching up to 48 miles per hour. The intense gusts placed stress on the mooring lines, causing several to snap and allowing the ship to drift slightly away from the pier. Guests on board reported hearing code Echo over the public address system, a standard maritime alert indicating high winds affecting ship operations. Crew members responded quickly, and the vessel was never fully adrift or in danger. No injuries or damage were reported. Embarkation and luggage loading were briefly paused while the situation was brought under control, but Norwegian Prima was safely resecured at the dock shortly afterward. Despite the disruption, the ship's 7-night Caribbean itinerary is not expected to be impacted. Docked at Cruise Terminal 5, Norwegian Prima was still scheduled to depart Port Canaveral at approximately 6 p.m. as planned, allowing guests to continue their cruise without further delays. For Prima bookings, contact Chillie at 434-258-9264. American Cruise Lines is preparing to launch a new Gulf Coast itinerary in March 2026, deploying the American Symphony, a vessel with capacity for 180 guests, on a route between New Orleans and Pensacola. The inaugural voyage is already sold out. The ship will call upon 6 ports en route: Gulfport, Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, Pensacola, Florida, and finally back to New Orleans. For information on this cruise, email Chillie at bookalaska.net. Royal Caribbean International has announced a minor itinerary change for an upcoming Symphony of the Seas cruise departing Port Miami on February 15th. In a notice sent to booked guests, the cruise line confirmed that the adjustment is due to safe speed restrictions. To ensure smooth operations and regulatory compliance, Symphony of the Seas will now depart Nassau earlier than originally planned. The ship is scheduled to leave the Bahamian port at 4:30 p.m., instead of the previously planned 6 p.m. Royal Caribbean noted that all other ports of call and itinerary details remain unchanged for the sailing. Celebrating Martin Luther King Day. Savings on mobility equipment site-wide. Martin Luther King Day is all about equality and freedom, two principles that resonate with us deeply at Scootaround. For today only, we're giving you 15% off all products site-wide, including popular mobility scooters, wheelchairs, and power chairs. Use code SRN11137 to get 15% off. Shop online or call 1-844-664-7467 for the MLK Day sale.
All right, that's going to put an end to the news portion of today's show. Again, my thanks to Elizabeth Stern, Eli on location, for taking a little bit of time this morning on St. Kitts. Yeah, it's a tough place to stay for the time being until she knows what's going on in her world. So, actually, she was, we didn't get to this, but she was doing the one cruise on Quest, and then Azamara was going to put her on another ship. Well, that didn't come about. So this is why she ended up back at St. Kitts, where her friends are, because she was close there in Barbados. All right, so let's go over in the chat room and see who is with us this morning, and if anybody is fussing at me. Eli, of course, was there. Says it's a gorgeous day from St. Kitts. Hot Air Tom was here. Says good morning. Tom, heard about your kidney stones. Hope you're better now. Kenneth's with us. Hey, good morning, everybody. Gary Older Than Dirt's here. Happy MLK Day. 19 days to cruise. Yes, indeed. I tell you what, it is a little troubling. Some of you might have noticed that while Eli was answering a question that I was talking off, I turned my mic off and was talking to my housekeeper, who I informed when she came in this morning, just not even bother coming in my room because everything is out and about. I'm in the middle of packing stuff for moving. I'm in the middle of packing stuff for the cruise, and I got stacks of crap everywhere. We did take like 8 bags of trash out of here yesterday, and I'm going to have a couple tubs and 3 side things that'll go to Goodwill today. And then hopefully that's going to get me down to where I will be packing up and boxing up and parceling up stuff for Jason to pick up while I'm on the cruise. And then, of course, my suitcase and my cruise bag that I'll be taking on the cruise itself. So, all right, Katie's with us. She's enjoying a day off. Very chilly here this morning. Yeah, I heard it was chilly down there. Katie says, hope all is well with Eli. There's Roger in Jacksonville. Good morning from Jacksonville. Downloaded MSC boarding pass and baggage tag. I got the baggage tag. Did I get the boarding pass too? I'll have to look because I've got something saved on the phone and I'm not 100% sure what I saved on my phone. Anyway, that might have been the boarding pass. Sonny's with us, says hello to Eli. There's Steve out in Kentucky, says good morning, everyone. Bob's with us. Good morning, guys. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Jamin's here. Hello, Chillie. We just got off Freedom of the Seas this morning, hanging out at the airport hotel until our late afternoon flight. Cool in Miami. Yeah, I heard it was cool in Miami. I am debating on whether to take a coat or jacket with me on the cruises out of Port Canaveral, because it might be a little bit cooler there. Definitely going to have a coat in the car, but I still got to deal with getting from the boat to the car, which will be outside some. So I haven't decided on that yet. Let's see, where are we? Gretchen's with us out in Ohio. By the way, Jamin, I've done, I believe it's 4. I've been on Freedom 4 times. I like Freedom. Freedom's a small enough ship, is a big enough ship, but it's small enough that I'm comfortable on it. I'm still not 100% sure how comfortable I would be on Icon or one of those behemoths. It's just too big for me. But the bigger ships that I've been on, like Meraviglia, I loved Meraviglia. So yeah, maybe I'll do okay on it. Gretchen says, hi guys. I just got a $12,000 estimate for Anderson for a 6-foot patio door. Whoa. We've had a couple other estimates, all 50% or less than that, plus an extra $900 for a brass door handle. Yeah, that's a little steep. Hot Air Tom says, Roger, it's now real. See you in a few weeks. Yeah, it's not going to be that long. Gretchen says, you guys are getting excited. I've been excited, but my excitement is different. My excitement is, damn, can I get all this crap done before it's time for me to leave? Because when I leave out of here, I'm not coming back. I'll come back to visit, of course. But, I'm not coming back at the end of the cruise. Sonny says, holy cow, is that door made with gold trim? Yeah, I think so. Crazy. They only had 2 handles free, neither brass finish. Wow. Granted, I want the blinds inside, but otherwise, it's just a standard 6-foot slider. Gretchen says, I said I'd go back to Italy and forget the door. Well, you could do that too. It's just getting a little hard to open, and I don't want drapes. I'll go with another contractor. I used to have Anderson as well. That would have been in Pittsburgh. The house in Pittsburgh had Anderson. And it was expensive. But it wasn't that expensive then. Jamin says, hello. Oh, no, Joanne says, hello from snowy Pennsylvania. Gretchen says, pretty snowy here, too. That's out in Ohio. 19 degrees. Yeah, it's a little cold here. Love the Italy comment. Yes, indeed. Gretchen says, just being honest. There's Mike. Hi, Mike. Says, good morning to everyone. Marvelous interview with Eli. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show, Chillie. Are you kidding me? I love it. Eli, you could come on my show anytime you want. So, Sonny says, Eli, have fun in St. Kitts for as long as you have there. Yes, indeed. Chillie, you sent Ken his boarding pass. I sent Ken his boarding pass. Oh, it's on the same email as the bag tags, just at the beginning. Ah, that's right. Yes, that's correct. That's why I have it on my phone. I saved it on my phone so I would know that I had it. Roger says we did talk about MSC loyalty program upgrade from my Princess Elite status. I ask I'm going to have to call him back, Roger. I remember I talked to somebody with them, and I don't remember making a note on that. I'll recheck my notes. I asked about it, and I don't remember what they told me. I'll check on that again, Roger. Let me make a second note on that one. Roger, Princess Loyalty Program. Okay. Elizabeth says, thanks for the well wishes, everyone. Chillie, we are getting excited for you. It's been too long since your last cruise. Yes, it has, Eli. You know, I've been home since April 30th. That for me is a long stretch without being on a boat. So, and I'm ready to go. Because who knows how many I'm going to have left to do, but we'll see about that one. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Again, Elizabeth, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Always appreciated from my end. Always good to spend some time with you, no matter where it is. And thanks everybody for being here. All right, guys, smash that thumbs up button. That'll help us out quite a bit. And take this as my invitation to join us. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. That way it'll help the channel continue growth. And hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. All right, that's going to wrap up today's show, folks. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. All right, everybody, have a fantastic Monday. I'll see everybody on Wednesday.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.